There's nothing going on this weekend. Despite attempts by Occupy Cleveland members to distance themselves from the 5 self-described anarchists that were arrested last week for attempting to blow up a local bridge, one of them signed a lease for a West Side warehouse where about a dozen members of Occupy Cleveland live. In a 1-hour recording of a Friday evening General Assembly meeting of the group posted on its website, Occupy leaders expressed concern about Anthony Haynes' name being on the lease, which strengthens his link to the group. Quote, "We have a person facing terrorism charges on the lease on our warehouse," says one of the Occupy leaders.
That's happened to me so many times.
"If this gets into the media, it would be a disaster."
And now it's posted to our website.
Yeah. This is according to Joseph Zitt.
I love him.
Spokesman for the Occupy Cleveland.
Maybe you say that differently, like Zeet?
Nope.
Nope.
I believe it's
You're 100%
Joseph
confident.
Zitt.
You're 100% confident in that pronunciation.
I am 100%. Plain Dealer said Saturday that when they learned Haynes was arrested in the terrorism plot, the organization started working to get his name off the list and off the lease.
Yeah, well, they said he had nothing to do with Occupy Cleveland. Absolutely nothing to do with Occupy Cleveland.
Now, here's a question. Did you hear this story over the weekend by any chance? You hear this anywhere? Have you been hearing this?
Mm-mm.
No, isn't that strange?
It's only terrorism charges, though. I mean, it's not like the United States would find that interesting.
Can you imagine that? You know what? Things are becoming very, very clear on the Tea Party. Things are becoming extraordinarily clear on why they had to destroy the Tea Party. They had to destroy it because it offers you the other way out. And what we're going to be offered is what's happening in Greece this weekend or what's happening in France. Nazis or communism. I'm sorry, there's going to be a third option, radical Islam. So which one do you guys want? Do you want the Muslim Brotherhood? Do you want the communist Marxist? Or do you want the Nazis? I'd like to take none of the above for 1,000, Alex. But that's what's being offered now in Europe, in something we told you would have. Is it starting to make sense now on why we went to Israel? Is it starting to make sense on what we've been doing and what we've been saying? You think any of your neighbors are waking up? No, not. They're probably listening to Joseph Zitt.
Well, it's like the media keeps unplugging the alarm clock. You know what I mean? It really is. I mean, when they don't report a story about a terrorist blowing up a bridge who has a lease on one of a movement that many of the left's politicians, mainstream politicians, have praised, and the president of the United States has encouraged, and that's not even a story. That's unplugging the alarm clock. No wonder.
I'm really wondering. Look at the similarity between the way the press and this administration handled the terrorist bombing in Israel. The terrorists, remember when they shot up a bus, killed a British tourist? Remember when we were there in Israel? Mm-hmm. Killed a British tourist, shot up the bus. Before that was the Fogel family. None of it reported in the mainstream press. None of it. The president never came out and said anything about him. Why? Why? At the same time this is happening, we gave you the answer about 1.5 years ago on Fox. At the same time, they were talking about the responsibility to protect in Libya. What were they protecting against? They were protecting against genocide, war crimes, anything like that. Terrorism. They had a responsibility to go in. But they never said a word about what was happening in Israel. And the reason? Because the Muslim Brotherhood, the Marxists, the Socialists, the PLO, all of those guys, they cannot be named terrorists. You can't have a responsibility to protect against those guys. You need the responsibility to protect against Israel. Now, I said that 1.5 years ago because of what was happening with Samantha Powers. If you remember, Samantha Powers is Cass Sunstein's wife. She's the one who came up with the responsibility to protect. She's the one that was funded by George Soros. She marries Cass Sunstein, and they both find themselves in the administration.
I believe Samantha only has one power. She's not a powers. She only has one power.
No.
It's Samantha Power.
I think
that's how you say it.
It's war. It's not war power, is it?
No.
It's war powers.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a little different.
So Samantha Powers is now where? Anybody know? You know what she's doing for the administration now? She's on the commission to stop genocide. I guarantee you they're going to use this against Israel. And what is happening now in our press is the same story, different scale. What's happening in our press is they go after everybody who is Tea Party, and they don't say anything now about a terrorist trying to blow up a bridge whose name is on. He signed the Occupy Wall Street. He's not some nobody. He signed the lease for Occupy Wall Street. And he was out trying to plot to blow up a bridge. And the press says nothing. I guarantee you that the administration won't say anything. I'm interested to see what the DOJ actually does with him. Let's see if federal charges are being brought up against him. Let's see how vicious and let's see if they treat this guy even the way they treated Ted Nugent. I bet they don't. I bet they don't even treat him as harshly as they were treating Ted Nugent. This just disappears into the night. This is why it is imperative. I heard a story this weekend that the Tea Party and the 9/12 group are just kind of fading off. That they're not really playing a role. Now, I don't think that's true, especially if you look up in Wisconsin. But if that is at all true, we're in trouble. If they have discouraged us enough to sit down and be quiet, because we are the answer, we are the key. We are the ones that if we don't move and we don't offer a third choice, we're going to get exactly the same choices that we have in France now. France just went socialist communist. And if you look, who was working with them to beat Sarkozy? Who was working with them? The Muslims. They were going door to door for the first time in France. And whose model were they using? Barack Obama's. They used Barack Obama's Acorn model to be able to get the vote out. And they went door to door, and the Muslims were doing it with them and saying, look, you're gonna have real problems if Sarkozy gets in again. You need us. And so the socialists got in. The Nazis were the ones that took over. This is amazing to me. 20% of the vote in Greece went Nazi communist. 20%. Remember, Hitler got in on 30%. And we're going to play some audio for you from Greece that is stunning. And yet our press won't say anything. And what's going to happen? Our press is going to do exactly the same thing that they are always doing, and that is ignore it and not tell you what it really means. They're talking today all about austerity, that the austerity measures are over. Well, what is austerity? Austerity isn't just budget cuts. Austerity is budget cuts coupled with crippling taxes. If you did budget cuts, serious budget cuts, and tax cuts at the same time, that's the Tea Party method. It is reduce the size of government and reduce the burden on people. They don't want that option to be heard. They don't want that option to be known. And you see it over in Greece. You see it in France. You're about to see it over in England. You're seeing it everywhere. You're seeing it in Spain. The only option, high taxes, low spending. Well, that's not working.
I think it's pinned on conservatives, essentially.
Yes.
They call austerity, and it's like one of these things that's supposed to be assigned to our belief system. We want budget cuts, and it's not working, therefore we're wrong. I mean, what's his face from the Times, Krugman, says this all the time. Look, it's not working over there. See? Well, I told you it's
because
not working.
It's not it. That's not the formula.
We're not advocating that.
Yes, and that's the word that has to get out. We're not for austerity. We're not for the European solution. We are for low taxes, low spending. That's what we're for. That is radically different than what they're trying over in Europe. And if we don't, as a Tea Party, as 9/12, as Americans who understand this, if we don't stand together this summer, if we don't come together, if we're not seen in the streets, if we're not active at the polls, if we are not a major force, we lose. And I'm telling you, let me make one spooky ass prediction that in 4 years from now, if we don't hold together and the Tea Party doesn't make a major political move, you will have the Nazi Party running. And if you think this is crazy, look at the German Bund movement of the United States of America in the 1930s. Look at Father Coughlin in the 1930s. Major political force. Nazi. If you don't think that the communists and the Nazis will make a move here, you're mistaken. We're going to play this audio from Greece, and I'm telling you right now that there will be people from the Democratic Party and the Republican Party that will hear pieces of what he says, and they'll say, you know what, I kind of agree with that. And that's the problem. Just pieces of truth. But his solutions, well, I think they used to call it the final solution. Wait until you hear this audio. And if we don't win this kind of hatred on both sides, the communists and the Nazis, we're already seeing it in Florida. You're seeing it with Occupy Wall Street, and you saw the Nazis in Florida along with the Black Panthers. It will come here. This is the time to stand and stand together.